When I was a very much younger priest than I am today, I was assigned to Our Lady of Hope Parish in Springfield on the Hungry Hill section. One of my pastoral responsibilities was to visit the religious education classes with the dismissal of the students. It was necessary to be sure all the lights in Our Lady of Hope School had been turned off. On one occasion, as I was returning to the rectory, I glanced back and saw at the school building that a bathroom light was still on. As it happened, we were in standard time, and the hallways of the school had darkened. Because I believed I had gained familiarity with the building, I decided not to turn any lights on. I successfully navigated to the second floor, entered the bathroom, and switched off the light. You need to know that the bathroom door was recessed from the hallway. Because my eyes had been exposed momentarily to the bright fluorescent light that I had just turned off, all of a sudden, everything was pitch dark. I counted my steps and was convinced I had taken enough steps to clear the wall on my left. Wrong. I walked into the wall. I broke my glasses and started to bleed. More cautiously, I exited the building and drove myself to the emergency hospital room. As it would happen, an Our Lady of Hope member of the parish, and her name was Kathy Shea, was on triage that day. She inquired as to what had happened. I responded by saying, "Don't ask." We both started to laugh. What a difference the light could have made that day. The metaphor of darkness and light employed by the prophet Isaiah in today's first reading provides the foreshadowing of the fulfillment in the Gospel of Matthew's quotation depicting Jesus as the light. Land of Zebulun and land of Naphtali, the way to the sea beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sit in darkness have seen a great light. On those dwelling in a land overshadowed by death, light has arisen. With this acknowledgement by the evangelist Matthew, Jesus begins his ministry in Capernaum by the Sea of Galilee. Notice that Jesus does not begin his public ministry until after the arrest of John the Baptizer. While John proclaimed the coming of Jesus, Jesus radicalizes John's message with, "The kingdom of heaven is at hand." He is now drawn toward the Sea of Galilee and begins to call his first followers, calling them disciples. It is rather interesting that as Jesus walks along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, he begins to call fishermen. He's not calling the sophisticated, the learned, or the white-collar people of his time. He summons the illiterate, the hardworking, and soon enough, even tax collectors and other sordid characters. At face value, we may say, what an eclectic group he begins to assemble. For whatever reason, these individuals abandon what they know to follow an unknown person into an unknown future. But their response was immediate. The point Matthew makes in this call of the first disciples is how magnetic Jesus' presence appears to be. They ask no questions and offer no resistance. His presence manifests the power that overtakes those he wishes to attract. The first impressions of the disciples must have been something like this. What a ride this Jesus is going to be. He teaches and cures illnesses and diseases. This is looking like going to be a pretty good gig to be part of. Of course, no one really knows the state of mind of these first disciples. But we do know, however, that they knew this man was different than any other they had ever experienced. Perhaps he is the light that would illuminate the darkness which existed in each of their lives. What Jesus was able to accomplish in the lives of his disciples is exactly what he wishes to accomplish in each of our lives, to call us out of darkness toward his light so that we can come to a deeper knowledge and communion with God and choose to leave behind and therefore liberated from any form of darkness. In what ways do we need to be liberated by Christ our light? Allow me to offer a few rhetorical questions. What habits keep us in darkness and close in on ourselves? What about the time spent on the World Wide Web of the Internet? The Internet can be a wonderful way to explore knowledge. However, it can also lead to very dark places that can become addictive and self-destructing. What difficulties are we individually experiencing that need the light of Christ? Do we need healing in our marriages, in our roles as priests, parents, teachers, sons, daughters, brothers, or sisters? Often these above roles consume a lot of our time and energy. Are we freed by these roles we have in life, or do they weigh us down? Are we prejudiced to those who are different than ourselves? The rise of anti-Semitism, anti-Asian, white supremacy, and anti-Latino movements is a frightening reality in our society today. These forms of hatred and bigotry have no room in the lives of Christians. And finally, are we tolerant versus being intolerant of others who have differences of opinion on the many social, political, and ecclesial issues that are prevalent in our modern-driven society and in our church? When we as Christians declare Jesus as the light of the world, there is the clear implication that each Christian, in turn, is to be a light amid the darkness of modern-day culture. We can invite the incredible gift of faith to enlighten our lives and allow faith to be the liberator. The Lord is inviting us to have a confident hope that he will transform our very lives. The ministry of the church is to announce the good news, even when it is not expedient to do so. All persons must be welcomed to the table of the Word of God and the table of the Eucharist without exception. We need to pray together in a common language in which all can be enlightened by the gift of faith. We must become what the historical Jesus was, an extension of his mind, his hands, his feet, and his heart. Through the sacraments given to us by Jesus, the primordial sacrament, as a church community, we are not alone on this journey of faith. We are the laity, the religious, and the clergy, living with and learning from each other. Together, we are the church. Together, it is possible to be the hands, the feet, and the heart of Christ. Our calling to discipleship is no less than the calling of the disciples on the shore of the Sea of Galilee centuries ago. The question I pose to you and to myself is, am I willing to abandon what is familiar to me and follow wherever his voice leads, as did the first disciples? When the answer is yes, the light will illumine the darkness. So therefore, don't forget to turn on the light when in a darkened room or a building. No matter how familiar you may believe you are with it, it may prevent you from walking headstrong into a wall and needing to go to the ER.